Hello everyone and welcome back to another video about Swordburst 3, but this time I'm not actually playing the game. I couldn't be bothered opening it, so I'm playing an actually better open world RPG than Swordburst 3 now. But I've just been getting a lot of comments about the game, and I mean a lot, about how, oh, I'm complaining with no reason, and I don't know how to make games myself, I don't know how hard it is, and just, you know, all the really generic stuff you expect people to say. And I would just like to start this off by saying, I do know how to make games, I am a game designer, so I do know how to make games. I have made Roblox games, and if you did any amount of research, you would know that I do know how to make games. But anyway, about all of the people saying I've just been hating the game unnecessarily, it's a good game, yada yada yada, I can tell you with full confidence, Swordburst 3 is not a good game. And I will be actually reasoning things this time. Instead of just listing them, I will actually be telling you why things specifically suck. And I'm going to try and keep this video a little short and sweet. Well, not so sweet, but just short. So, I'd like to start it off with upgrading and enchanting. I know this system was in the previous Swordburst. It was in Swordburst 2. However, the execution between the two is very different, and I would say Swordburst 2 did the execution a lot better than Swordburst 3 for a bit of an important reason. That being, gems don't become useless after you're at a certain point in the game. Every gem you have remains useful forever. And I did get some numbers myself on everything that you need to know. So, it takes about 20, maybe 30 minutes to get 10 levels on Swordburst 3. I did time this myself. It takes that time frame to get 10 levels, which in about 10 to 12 levels on Swordburst 3, you get an item that either uses a different material or is just, well, you know, new and not upgraded at all. And grinding the crystals required to max out an item's level, if you're really lucky, it takes you an hour, else it does take longer. And I think it's pretty obvious what the problem is there. You'll have all these crystals, and then by the time you actually get to use them, you're no longer using an item that uses these crystals. And the exact same goes for enchanting. You get all these, if you're bothered getting them, that is, because you have to grind bosses to get them, or go mining, which is a really useless mechanic of itself. Just, if you bother getting the pure crystals, the pure gems, whatever they're called, the same problem occurs because, you know, it's RNG. You have to rely on RNG to get a certain enchantment, which by the time you could get that certain enchantment for your sword, you're probably using something that has a different material requirement than what you've been using, and is just far better than the clean item, like the unupgraded item. In fact, I literally can show this with screenshots from the Swordburst 3 wiki itself that proves this is an actual problem, which is just really unfortunate. They didn't think the system out at all. It's just there, but it's useless because of how it's designed. Now, the quests, I know it's a really mixed bag complaining about them. Some people love them, people hate them. It's just really mixed, but my views on them, it makes progression feel more like of a task and a checklist than, you know, like actual progression. Like, yes, you are going through the game, but just the way it's done is just okay, go here, run in a circle for 30 minutes, and then go to the next area and repeat the same process. It's just... That's Swordburst 3. Because the way everything works, that is just... You go to this one area with these same 3 enemies, you just kill them all in a circle until you've done the quest, you level for the next one, or whatever. And then you move on, or you don't, because the XP balancing sucks, and I kid you not, you don't even have to progress to the next floor to reach max level on it in the fastest way. So it makes progression just feel like a chore, like feels like a task, and it's just, the level locking on quests is really bad, because that also level locks everything progression-wise. You can't go to this area till you've done this, you can't beat this boss till you've done this, which is also a part of map design with all that, but yeah, map design's coming later. So the quest being level locked, it just level locks pretty much everything in the game just by having quest level locked, and level locking in an open world game it's just a joke. You say, oh, you can do what you want, you can go anywhere when you want, and then it's just, never mind, you need to be this level to go here, and, you know, last time I checked, that's not too open world. But, so yeah, just, level locking is bad for quests. Anyway, now I'm just gonna move on to the map design, because I know people are gonna complain about that. Oh, I like the quests, I don't think they're that bad. Listen, just from my perspective, as a game designer, as someone who is making an open world game, who has played actual open world games, in fact, I'll just stand here while I talk. So, this is what real open world looks like. You can see there is no massive walls anywhere. Sure, there's cliffs, but you can go up them, you can go around them. There is just no big walls. And that is a problem with Swordburst 3. The maps on Swordburst 3, they are large. They are just so walled in, they feel tiny. And that is probably the biggest problem with the map design on Swordburst 3. It's not that the maps are small, it's just that they're so walled in. Because, like, standing here, I can see so far off in the distance, every direction. And with Swordburst 3, you stand, like, this is what you see when you look off into the distance. Just this. And that is not good compared to this. And then, let's also bring up the colors while we're here. You can see, open up the map, every area in Fallout 76 has a nice distinct color that distinguishes it from one area to another. You can see right now, I am in... Where am I, actually? I'm currently in between the green and yellow zone. So, of course, it's going to be a bit orange. It's going to be a bit mixed of green and orange. But, you see, the green is a natural green. The red is a natural red. The orange is a natural orange. All the colors here are natural, and they're easy on the eyes. They look good. Swordburst 3 colors are just bright and just throw in the face all the colors we can get, which is just really unappealing from a design standpoint, because you have all these different colors and only half of them are appealing. When you're a game designer and you want to keep players in your game, trust me on this, visuals are important. If someone joins your game and they're like, wow, this looks like shit, they might just leave the game, because it looks bad, the rest of the game probably sucks. First impressions are everything, and visuals are a very big first impression. And then, just, again, level locking in the maps, especially with, like, you know, the dungeons. That is probably the worst offender on Swordburst 3. The fact that it literally gatekeeps progression to a level requirement is awful. Because in 76, I can do any event like the one that just appeared. I can do any event, I can do pretty much any quest at any level. I can do the entire game at level 1 or I could start the entire game at level 1. Sure, I'll be level 50 by the end of it, but that's not really much of a problem because, well, I played through the entire game and I did every quest when I wanted to do it, not when the game said I could do it. It's just, player freedom is important. That's all I'm saying. Player freedom is important, and I will say, I saw some people pulling shit out of their ass about, oh, low-level players are gonna slow my progression in later floors, and let me just ask you, how? The lower-level players have worse items than you. You can outdamage those low-level players, so they don't get drops, and you do. How does that slow you at all? Please, just think about things before you say them. Anyway, now, mob design, just Swordburst 3, I have to say it, Bombay. It's just lazy. Like, you've tried to come up with, I don't know how many excuses now to why the game's full of copy-paste mob design. First, you said it was because you ran out of time with Floor 2, and that they were just placeholders, and now you're saying, or most recently, I've seen you say, they aren't placeholders, it's to add, mount variants. Now, I don't know why you don't just recolor the mount, and then allow the player to, like, put a material in from the respective floor to get a respectively colored mount. Like, for example, you want it, just say the polar bear wasn't in Swordburst 3 Floor 3 at all. There was no polar bear in Floor 3. Say you wanted a polar bear, you would put in, say, like, a pure ruby when crafting a bear mount, and then that would spit out a polar bear. Or you can just, you know, add, like, a selection menu that allows you to select a variant for what mount you craft. I mean, why didn't you just do that and then actually add different mobs to the game? That is just one thing I am genuinely confused about. You want to add mount variants? Just go add mount variants, but do something original for the floors. Like, we don't care. Swordburst 2, for example, given the execution of the designs wasn't the best, they were at least all original, and given with some tweaking and some modern tools with Roblox, the designs could actually be pulled off really well. It's just, I don't know why you just don't go reuse some of those designs instead of reskinning the wolf for the 50th time and reskinning whatever else for the 70th time. And just also with just, there's a lot more reskins in Swordburst 3 than you may think. Like, the ice walls and the whatever the other dungeon mob in Floor 3 is, those both use the snake AI, and I don't think they use the same sounds, but they use the same AI, which pretty obviously reusing content is gonna get repetitive. It's going to all feel like, it's gonna just all blend in to be the same, and no one wants that. We want to be fighting clearly different enemies. Like, I don't want to walk into an area and go, is this, like, I want to walk into a different area and experience something new. I don't want to experience the same shit over and over and over again, which reusing AI is just, it's not good for that. Like, AI reuse on the same floor, I would say, is completely fine. But going and reusing it on a different floor in a different part of the game, that's where it starts crossing over into, this is just lazy, I don't like this. So, now probably one of the more controversial things is PvP. I know some people love it, and probably a lot more hate it. In fact, PvP is one of the sole reasons the game is actually dead as fuck right now. PvP, as it is on Swordburst 3, is just... It's making so many people just quit the game because... Imagine this, you're a new player to Swordburst, you've never played one in the past, you check it out because the thumbnails look cool, you think the game's maps look alright, you're fine with them, and then you get stuck getting spawn killed by this level 85, and your only option is to just leave the game. That's not going to leave a very good first impression on you, and odds are, you're not going to return to Swordburst 3 after that. That is probably the main problem with Swordburst 3 as it is, the PvP. Well, no, never mind, I take that back, actually, as many, many, many bigger problems than the PvP, but the PvP is definitely a very, very big problem. Because just remember, first impressions to a game are everything. If the game doesn't look good, your first impressions aren't going to be too good. And if your experience playing the game is even worse than the visuals, you're probably just not ever gonna return to it. I mean, why would you? It's just, yeah. So, next thing is just transmogging. Again, another somewhat controversial thing, considering people have already spent money on it. But me and pretty much everyone else agrees that it needs to be changed. Especially all the testers. By the way, yes, I am a tester for Swordburst 3. All the testers, we do all agree with each other. Transmogging does need to change. So, now I've listed everything wrong with it. How the fuck do you fix it all? So, upgrading and enchanting, the first thing I listed. How do you fix it? Well, I would say it's a pretty obvious fix. You return a Swordburst 2's crystal system. Because with Swordburst 2, no matter where you were in the game, no matter what floor you were on, no matter anything, all of your crystals were useful. You could get common crystals, and then you could go and just, go upgrade any common item. You get uncommon crystals, go upgrade any uncommon item, and so on, so on. And then you could upgrade uncommon crystals to rares, rares to legendaries, legendaries to whatever else there is now. And that is a very good system, although it has its issues. And then there's Swordburst 3, where you have 2 crystals per floor, where every single crystal, except for the very last one, is useless because of the same problem I mentioned earlier. You progress too fast, you can't use the crystals by the time you have enough, blah 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 blah. So, yeah. And then just quickly, another problem with the upgrade system in both games is the down leveling when you fail an upgrade. That is such an awful system that adds to the game's grind in the worst possible way. So, hang on, what do you do exactly to fix the down leveling? Well, what I would personally do is I would keep the RNG there. The RNG element stays. I would remove the down leveling on items, and then, this may be a little controversial, I would decrease the odds a little bit, but give pure gems another purpose to be used to increase the chances of a successful upgrade. And this kind of just balances it out. So you have the original crystal system, you don't have downgrading, like you have Swordburst 2's crystal system, you don't have downgrading, but the chances are lower, but you can increase the chances if you bother doing that. And then the quests, what do you do about the quests, considering those are one of the largest complaints I have seen. Quests are boring, quests are boring, quests are boring. So, what do you do about the quests? Well, the first and most simple thing, you don't make quests mandatory to progression. Make it so the mobs drop enough XP by themselves to make you get some levels, instead of, having to kill how many enemies? They drop like 17 XP. Every single enemy dropped like 17 XP. So, you know, when you're needing, like, 10,000 XP to level up, you can do them. I'll probably put the math on the screen for how many enemies you'd have to kill to get one level without, you know, doing any quests. But what you do, again, you return to Swordburst 2's system where killing enemies is the main form of progression. But then, because people wanted quests, and people still probably want quests, you then add quests, one-time quests I add, not repeatable quests, one-time quests, that the player can do, that just, they give a massive boost in XP. They could give money, they could give items, they could give you whatever, but they will give you a massive boost in XP, like maybe an entire level, maybe like 5,000 XP, I don't know. It depends on where the quest is, what it's for, how hard it is to complete, all that stuff. So, you just essentially add a bunch of one-time quests, you spread them around the map, don't put them on a path, that is extremely boring. But one thing I will mention with 76, you have a quest that starts here, which requires you to go all over the map. You see, you go everywhere in 76. The game makes you go across the whole map, and that is what I love. 76 uses the open world, and every Fallout, I believe every Fallout. Every Fallout that I'm aware of, that I've played, uses the open world to full advantage, and it makes you go across the whole thing to do quests, and I love that. Meanwhile, Swordburst 3, it just throws you into an area, and you just run around in circles for hours. So, you make these quests actually long. You don't make them just kill 10 of this mob. You might make it so, kill 10 of this mob, go to this area, do thing, return to me. Or maybe you'd make it, go to area, which is far from the start of the quest, and then you get ambushed by enemies, you kill enemies, you get item, and then you come back to me. You see, those quests are fun. I like those quests. Yes, they're fetch quests, but they just add on to it, and depending on the environment and how it's pulled off, the same quest can feel very different, unlike with Bandit Beater quests, what Swordburst 3 has, which is just, hey, talk to me, now just walk 10 paces forward, and then just start walking in circles, killing the same 3 enemies over and over again. That feels the same no matter what you do. You can't do anything to make that feel different. And so then, lastly and most obviously, you remove level locking from the quests. I mean, like, so far level locking has been the largest complaint anyone has had with the game. Which, I mean, very obvious why it's been a complaint. No one likes level locking in open world games. But, so, yeah, that's how you fix the quests. And then map design, it requires a bit of reworking of what's already been done, but I would say is very worth it. So, what has to be done? You remove most of the walls, make the map actually open, and here's something I forgot to mention. You have to make each area within the map actually feel natural. You have to make them combine well. You can't just have it so you walk into a cave from, like, one area, you walk into a cave, and then you walk out and you're in... Okay, just for example, say you're in a desert, and then you walk into a cave that's 50 meters long, and then you walk out, and on the other side, it's like Japan, it's like Tokyo or something. That is just an awful transition, and unfortunately, that is quite literally what Swordburst 3 has been doing a lot. And also with map design, you just want to keep everything consistent within it. So say you build a desert map, you want to go for either a Western theme, or like an Egyptian theme, or you just want to build like a desert. You don't mix all of them into one, because it just starts looking off, it starts looking a bit weird, it just starts looking like you're trying to throw as many themes at the wall as possible to try and get people's attention. Just, oh, look, we have this, we have all of this, you should you should play our game. You should check out our map. It's just something. Anyway, so yeah, you want to make each area just blend together nicely. You don't want to have one part of a map in a massive contrast to another. It should all blend together but not look the same, essentially. Because if you have one map that just all looks the same, it's just bland, it's boring, you get sick of it quickly, you add enough variance, it looks very good, you add too much variance, and it just starts looking very bad. Swordburst 3. So, that's the actual buildings, or less walls, more open, makes the map feel bigger, makes it feel more open, it just makes everything feel better. The ugly colors, again, that's just choose better colors. Like, there's nothing else I can say, just choose better colors. Especially with the green for floor 1, it's so ugly. It's just not a natural green. It's, like, so bright, so ugly. It's just so in your face and unappealing. And then just, yeah, level locking. Again, just remove quest level locking. And with the maps and their level locking, don't put areas required to progress behind level locks. Like, for example, the dungeons and the boss. Don't even put them behind quests. The dungeons and boss rooms should just be open like they were in Swordburst 2. You could run in there at any level, you could run out, you could do whatever the hell you wanted. And that was a very good system. I liked that. You could progress the game as fast as you want. I got to floor 11 at level 70 or something. And that's just... it's very fun to just do what you want when you want, and not when the game says you're ready to. And then just to keep some purpose, you could have non-essential areas locked behind quests. But so, yeah, you give a specific area that's non-essential, that is locked behind, like, a quest lock, and nothing else behind a quest lock, because quest locks are bad, boring, bleh. But, like, yeah. Anyway, so now the PvP, just, it needs level barriers. PvP needs level barriers. You can't just... again, so, with PvP, you just need level barriers. What Swordburst 2 had was really good, and I think if just the same sort of level barrier Swordburst 2 had was implemented into Swordburst 3 with open PvP, that would work very well. Because what Swordburst 2 did, it didn't allow you to kill anyone. Well, it did, if both people had PvP on. But if you had to be in a similar level range to just be able to attack each other with just no prerequisites. Other than that, the lower level player had to attack you first for you to be able to attack them. And I think that implemented into Swordburst 3 would be very good. I mean, it's going to be better than what we currently have, because it would be less people leaving because they just can't progress at all. Yeah, the PvP, just open PvP, it sounds really cool, really good. And then just in execution, it has been shown to be awful, terrible, everyone hates it. Except for the people who, you know, actively go and kill people for the fun of it. And so transmogging, the final thing I listed now. How do you fix transmogging? And so, solution is stupidly simple. What you do is, so, currently transmogging, you spend, like, $5, and out of the $5, what do you get? An item you delete in 10 minutes? Yeah, an item you delete in 10 minutes, because the whole upgrading point. So, you have the item you delete in 10 minutes. That's not good. So, anyway, as I was saying, just, you spend $5 for an item you delete in 10 minutes. It's just, that's not good. So anyway, you spend $5 for an item you delete in 10 minutes. It's just, that's not a good system. So what do you do about it? You change it so you spend $5, and you get a cosmetic item, you can permanently use. You know, it doesn't delete itself, or doesn't become useless after 10 minutes of playing the game, because that's just how the progression is. And, you know, speaking of progression, this wasn't in my list of original points, but I thought I would bring it up. Swordburst 3 just has too little grind to it. This is, again, another controversial thing I could be saying. So, the progression on Swordburst 3, you just get through the whole game too fast. I know it's about the same as Swordburst 2, but it feels too fast. Like, Swordburst 2 and Swordburst 3, they're both about an hour per floor. I did time it. It's just with Swordburst 3 and Swordburst 2, as I did get the levels for everything relatively quickly, I didn't get the items quickly, because I didn't have enough Vel to buy the items, and I wasn't getting good RNG on the drops. And then, with Swordburst 3, I did measure this. You get about 200,000 Vel per floor, and you only spend about 50,000 per floor, so you end up getting about 150,000 Vel for playing through an entire floor. And, you know, that's kind of... It just makes the whole game really easy. You don't have to grind for any items. You don't have to grind for any weapons. You just buy them, which is very bad. I don't like it at all. And that's just how it works. So, yeah, progression, Swordburst 3, it's just too fast. Everything listed. If you want me to go into more detail in the future, like, more detail and more complaints, I will. And just because one guy asked me for this, I will do a list of everything good about Swordburst 3. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. The combat visuals look okay. The combat feels okay. That is the end of my list. Anyway, with that being said, this marks the end of this video. I will like to say, barely anyone who watches my videos is subscribed, so please, if you want, help a guy out. And if you enjoyed it, leave a like, leave a comment, just... It would really help me. It'd make me let you... It just lets me know what everyone's thinking. If my views are shared, if they're not, I would genuinely like to know. And if you guys understand, if you guys... anything, just, yeah, it's nice to know all this. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.